here. I could go on and on to talk with Hassan about many things, but today we will focus on his book, Man at the Airport. Hassan al-Contrar was raised in a prosperous Syrian home, the middle child of a mechanical engineer and a nurse. He is known as Man at the Airport after spending 7 months at the Kuala Lumpur International Airport. Now a permanent resident of Canada based in Vancouver, Hassan is employed by the Canadian Red Cross and continues to advocate for refugees around the world. He is the author of the newly released book, Man at the Airport, available from Tidewater Press. Hassan, welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me again.
Yeah, so you see,
what a year, huh?
What a year, yeah.
What a year.
Let me actually do something here, and I hope that I could. I have the book here. As you can see, it might not be as clear as it should be, but it's here. And thank you for sending it. So it's beautiful. You decided to go with a book.
Yes. That was the ultimate dream after I arrived to Canada. I wanted, since I arrived, people start pushing me to write a book. I thought it was the time to write the story, to explain about Syrians, who we are, what our life looked like before the war, because I discovered that people, the Canadian, they know so much about the Syrian war, the refugee crisis, but they don't know anything about Syria before the war. And I wanted to correct that. The false and misinformation because of the media, the Hollywood effect, and how they describe us all as someone who is living on desert on a tent with some camels, and that's not the truth. So I wanted to explain that, but we are speaking today about the World Refugee Day. And we normally, when we have a global day, we say Happy International Whatever Day. I'm afraid I wish it's the same. I can say the same about World Refugee Day. A Happy World Refugee Day is a day where we have refugees no more. No refugee camps, no powerless, hopeless people lining up in front of embassies seeking asylum or asking for a visa. No mother's tears, no father burying their kids, no families drowning on the Mediterranean, no kids living on tents without knowing what wrong did they do to deserve such a life. A happy refugee day is a day where all refugees are settled in their new countries with health care, a proper education, with work, with dignity and human rights. That's a happy World Refugee Day. Now, I don't know who decided to make a Father's Day say a same day as Refugee Day, but that's a lot of emotions for me.
Yeah.
I lost my father in 2016.
Yeah.
Thank you. New Year's Eve, and I was in detention jail at that time.
Oh, no.
And that was one of the darkest and lowest moments in my life. And he's my forever ideal, the one who never left me during my journey until I arrived. And he's one of two, my parents, who prepared me since I was kid to, because they knew there's something going to happen in the future. He prepared me physically, mentally. He used to read to me every night, and he used to take me to our olive farm so I can work and know the meaning of fruits and land. My mother used to send me every summer when I was kid to an English summer school. Both skills I used at the time I was at the airport to survive.
Yeah. So thank you, Hassan. And I would encourage our audience, please stay with us a little bit. We started a little bit late, and it's really not fair to take time from that we've allocated to Hassan. We really want we really to get more opportunity to speak. But what intrigued me about the book, and thank you for saying what you said just now. It takes courage for people to be able to come and share their stories. What you did in the book, you titled it "Man at the Airport: How Social Media Saved My Life." And for me, when I was reading it, it intrigued me so. There were so many points that took me back, and I was so impressed that you actually got the forward of the book written by Nas Daily vlogger. and what he says in it, he said, we look at social media as a stupid thing, for stupid dances, for stupid challenges, and there is nothing much you can gain out of it. But you proved it wrong. It's actually
True,
you
true,
get
true.
something out of it. So can you
Uh,
tell us about it?
It's a tool, and it's up to us how to use it. It could be a lifesaver, or it could be a weapon of a mass destruction. It could be an entertainment tool, and it could be a tool to make a difference, to create the change and to lead the change. It's up to us as humans. It's full of with new generations we have. I cannot keep up with all the technology. I tried, but some of them I can't even pronounce, like the TikTok thing. But it's the future language, and we are living the future, and we need to speak that language. It's amazing how people, they don't need to write a sign and go outside to protest anymore. They can create a protest while they are enjoying their life in their living room. They can create the wave, and that what individual brought individual from all around the world to support me. They shielded me, they protected me using social media. And I could tell my story. The world was finally hearing what's going on with Syrians since 2011 because of social media. But it is the last and desperate act. I did not jump into social media. I jumped into social media as a desperate final act because nothing else worked. So we still try to seek the proper channels. But with the huge numbers of refugees, we have 5.3 million Syrians. I think it's impossible. So social media is a sanctuary for us to take it out and to speak, to be creative. But the book itself, it's tricky. The title, how social media, it's much more than that.
Of
It's
course.
about, yeah. But I got that feedback. That's a typical question. It's there in
Yeah.
every interview.
Yeah, but Hassan, for me, when I was reading it, I could actually relate to many of the things that you mentioned there, the struggles, they try to have people to listen to you. But then what it impressed me more at the introduction, you actually talk about first about the event that you spoke at with the Canadian Council for Refugees, and
But
how
yeah.
you were trying to reflect in the way going there, having a Canadian poutine, as you put it, but then reflecting on your life in Kuala Lumpur while thinking about your childhood growing up. That's a really amazing way to bring together from living a prosperous life to having struggles and trying to find safety, and then all of a sudden being here safe, thinking not only about yourself but about the journey coming here and what can you do more. Can you maybe tell us more about that?
Who we become, you will discover at the end of your journey. Who you become towards your march, while during your march towards your dream is more important than the dream itself.
Yeah.
And you will start understanding once you start exploring the two parts of the world, the East and the West, so many different culture. You will start to understand that it's only one human civilization we have. They try to convince us that we have a different and multiple civilizations, and they are in a conflict, East and West, North and South, minorities and majorities. It's not. As long as we are humans, it's one product we are having, we are creating. It's one civilization. We have different cultures within the civilization, but it's one. That's why I thought I felt a special connection with the indigenous professor who was the opening speaker in that conference. And it's still overwhelming to me, even now after 2.5 years. There was a day in my life where at the morning I was in a detention jail in Malaysia, a small cell with overcrowded, more than 40 people with no place to sleep or to sit. Lights were on 24 hours. The same day, evening, same day, I
Oh,
was in Whistler, Canada. And that's an overwhelming, that's a huge
it is.
shift in my life, and I still enjoy it. And that's why even the book, it's not only about Syria. Syria and refugees is half of the book. The second half is Canada,
Okay.
because without Canada, none of this would be possible or see the light. So I'm a living proof that I can be the bridge between East and the West. And I'm here trying to be the connection between the two because I'm from the East and have been saved by the Western. So um, that's why the book was there, right?
Yeah, of course, we don't want to give people spoilers what happens at the
Mm.
end to the man at the airport, right? We don't want to
Right.
do that. We are not giving any spoilers, but really go through the book and read it. There are all sort of different moments and times that you kind of wonder whether this is going to work or not. And in page 110, for example, when you were at the airport and a person representing Turkish airline comes there with his belt and trying to prevent you or questioning you whether you would be allowed to board the plane, and you would say, with the wave of his hand, I feared my careful plans were not going to work. And this is the dilemma that all refugees face. It could be a wave from somebody, and it's done. Can you tell us more about?
It's
Yeah.
fascinating. The little power and authority some individual have, and they decided to abuse it and play God.
Mhm.
For them, we are an object just to make them feel better or important in life, while their decision has a life and death impact on us. That's he's an individual who decided not to allow me to board. He did not know that he changed the course of my life with that simple wave, and that's a hint, a gesture how the system is broken because it's giving so much power for individuals who sometimes abuse it and don't they don't think about it, what the impact of their decision. I think the wave or the pandemic, for example, now after 15 months of the pandemic, it was a really tough a test for our humanity, for our essence and who we really are, what we are made from. But it also has a positive impact. It made the whole world one step closer to understand the refugee crisis now, to start looking into things all the world from refugees' eyes. Now all borders are closed, and it was and still closed for refugees. All airports are forbidden areas. It was and still forbidden areas for refugees. All our passports are equally useless, despite the color, the flag, the nationality, and it was and still for refugees. So that's the authority some individual has. That's the question I always ask, and the book is based on that question only. Will you do the same if I was holding a Canadian, USA, an Australian, or any Europe passport? Will you do the same? That's when I understand he will not do the same. And that's why when I understood that it's not Hassan the individual, the Syrian, it's Hassan the Syrian. And once I knew that, my problem stopped being a personal problem and start being a general problem. It's about my people now. It's not only about me.
Yeah, so you see the problem, you know the reasons, and you try to use something that's totally different. Now, all of a sudden, using social media, and throughout the book, you are using powerful messages and sharing your tweets with us. So I will read in one page 134, Contrar underscore 81, April 1st. When the world is judging you just because you are Syrian, I'm 26 and stuck at Kuala Lumpur airport. I'm still waiting for someone to hear. And then all of a sudden, you put hashtags, war, hashtag Syria, hashtag refugees, peace, and it goes on and on, pretty much putting everybody there, including actresses, England, Canada, US, and all this. So you was just trying to get people's attention.
Exactly, and it did not work for the first month. It did not work. And I was starting to ask what's the purpose of this? What's the use of this? I remember day 35 when I Googled myself, I found three results. Two of them were linked to my tweets. And that was day 35. I was, as I said, a desperate act, and no one was listening.
Yeah.
And then in day 38, 3 days later,
Yeah. So
I
when no,
Googled myself again,
okay.
and it was 27,000.
Wow.
That's in 3 days.
Yeah, and but then in the middle of all this, nobody's hearing you, and you decide to apply for NASA. So in page 159, you sent an email to NASA for a job application, and you are telling them, "My name is Hassan. I'm from Syria, 36 years old, single." And you highlighted, of course, you want them to know that you don't have anybody else to come with you.
No.
Currently living at Kuala Lumpur since 87 days, and I would like to apply volunteer for your next expedition to Mars. Was that your destination then?
Yes, because it was very clear to me that it's an unwelcoming word. It's the life where and still mocking me in the way which is funny most of the time. At the arriving hall of Kuala Lumpur International Airport, that there was this big world map. And for me, I was seeing it 1,000 times every day, and not even a single part of that map is welcoming me. And that's why you know what, there is no place for me in this planet. I'm clearly rejected, and they don't want me. There was a time where I asked them if you have the smallest island you can find with no human on it. Just give me a wooden cabin and fishing gears and leave me alone. So I was desperate with anything. But it was a step of a serious tweets. A series of the tweets try to be funny, to make people smile, to show them who Syrians are, that even if it's unnormal situation, we can still be normal people. And we can still, instead of crying or complaining or demanding help, we can make you smile. You, the one are living your life and enjoying your cup of coffee in the morning before you go to work. Here's something to smile about. That was the message. So they did not, unfortunately, answer.
But then all of a sudden you hear from Lori Cooper of Canada Caring, a wonderful individual, a passionate individual, a caring person, and she tells you you have a G number, but the application in Canada would take it would take 24 months.
So, yeah. At that time, when they, well, here's the thing about Canada. I was in media outlets all over the world, sometimes in languages I did not know, I could not recognize. And the only lawyer who stood up and say, I'm gonna represent you for free. The only group of volunteers who reach out to me with supplies and paper to sign with an application with a real offer were Canadian. And at that time, I start seeing a light at the end of the tunnel. And I knew that people, governments, they have priorities. They couldn't pick up me before a family, Syrian family in refugee with some pre-existing condition. I'm still living at the airport. I'm single. I can wait. So I said, if Canada is the final destination, I'm happy to pay the price. So because of hope, hope is the real source behind, the real motive behind life. And if you knew at the end of it that you will end up in Canada, you will wait. And that's what I did.
So Hassan, we will not give the what happens at the end. We don't want
Okay.
to give spoilers, but I would encourage everybody to go and read Man at the Airport, How Social Media Saved My Life. Hassan, we are really fortunate to have you join us
Yeah,
today. We
thank
are honored. Thank you. And thank you for taking courage to share your story with everybody.